Hi there, my name's Sue. I'm an artist and art tutor based in West Sussex in the UK, and today we are going to be painting these papples, I'm calling them, pear apples. We're going to try a range of techniques, starting off with finger painting. We're going to try mixing with a palette knife, and we're going to use soft pastels to add texture. So I started off painting just the outline with some very diluted mix. I used whatever was on my palette. I'm not a very tidy and clean painter, so I tend to just wipe up whatever is in my palette. In this instance, it must have been something like ultramarine and yellow ochre, which creates a sort of a grey mix. Here you can see me just mixing some colour with a palette knife, and the main priority for doing that was just to keep my brushes a little bit nicer, because as I've been mixing paints with my brushes, they've actually been getting more and more exhausted, my brushes. You can see the hairs, some of the hairs are coming out. I started applying it with a palette knife as well, but now you can see I am finger painting, which was great fun. So I'm just dabbing my finger into the paints that I have and just spreading them on. It's a really lovely way of painting and just getting coverage. And I think this was far quicker than using the paintbrush, because what I was finding with paintbrushes is that if you have quite a dry brush, then you get a dry brush effect, so it doesn't go on quite as nicely. And if you use Sansodor, then it tends to spread a little bit thinner. But by doing it with your finger, you can really get down into the grooves of the paper, the oil board, whatever you're using, and it's really nice. So I recommend finger painting. So I was just trying to replicate some of the colours I saw on the original photo. This is a photo from Unsplash. Somebody kindly put that up there. I'll credit them in the description. I can't remember who they are right now, but thank you very much if it was you. If you do want to ever share any of your photos for inspiration for people like us artists, then Unsplash is a great place to post them. I'm doing the same technique here, so just applying the bark I assume it's bark of a tree. It could have been a table, but it had quite a rough effect. So I used the palette knife to just drag it along the surface, to just pick up some areas of paint and put other areas of paint down. And I also tried scratching into it and just reapplying some of the highlights with my finger. So that was fun, and I think really quite effective to get that sort of wooden surface. I've gone back to the paintbrushes now, just because I need to be able to try and get a semi kind of neat surface. So I'm adding a mix of alizarin crimson here, cadmium red, there'll be some yellows in there, yellow ochre. So have a play with the colours, refer back to your colour mixing charts if you did one. I'll be posting mine up on Patreon at some point, so feel free to pop over there and just have a look at my colour mixing chart so you can have an idea of what colours you can achieve with the basic primaries. With the shadow areas, I added a bit of ultramarine just to try and bring that shadow area. If you've got black, you could try black. I tend not to use black. Here, what I just poured into that little pot was a bit of linseed oil. So when you're oil painting, you've got various different mediums, and mediums are effectively like water to a watercolorist. So they can help dilute your paint, but they can also do other things. So a medium might be something that makes your paint even thicker. So it just kind of amends the paint somehow. And a lot of people use kind of solvents for that, which would be something like Sansodor or liquin. But there are other ones like linseed oil, which actually is what goes into the paints in the first place. It's pigment that's ground up pigment that's mixed with linseed oil, so it kind of spreads the paint out a little bit. That's how it feels like if you were adding linseed oil, whereas Sansodor feels like it kind of melts the pigments a little bit. I went and added a little bit of white there. I think this was the transparent white. So I've got titanium white, which is really quite a crisp white. it very clearly amends the paint. And I used some transparent white, which had a much more subtle effect on the paint that was beneath it. So if you want something a little bit more subtle, have a go with the transparent paint. Here I was just building up some of the darks. And can you see the brush strokes? I've tended to try and go up to kind of follow the form. Later, I leave this painting in a semi-unfinished form so that I can have a go with multimedia. So dry pastels, and then I use the other direction, sort of horizontally around the papples, to illustrate their form. Here I'm just darkening up some of the contrast. So what's really nice in order to get your fruit sitting in front is to build up some contrast. So if there's light on the papple, then have a dark background and vice versa. So that was a little bit of amending there. Does anyone know what these are called? Otherwise, I'm totally coining the term papple. I like it. Here, there's a bit of lightness on the trunk. So I used a bit of cerulean blue for that. And it's more blending of the colours. I quite like the background like it is here, splodgy and not refined. If you didn't want the background to be quite so splodgy, what you could do is use a fan brush now and just blend very lightly with a fan brush. To get those stems that dark, I mixed up a bit of cad red and ultramarine blue, and if you have quite a strong mix, then you get almost like a black. So that looks black, sort of looking at it, but it'll be a bit more of an interesting dark than lamp black. I tend not to use black ever in its natural form. I'll use something else just to take the edge off the black, but it's really up to you. So wait a week or 2 or 3 and come back and have a go with other things. So you can try coloured pencils, pastels, soft pastels, oil pastels. I actually had a go on another test bit before I did this one, and I decided that the soft pastels were the thing that worked better. The oil pastels, curiously and much to my surprise, didn't go on as well. So you can see here I'm just amending the shape. I can add contour lines to make it look round and get that round body effect of the fruit. I can big up some of the different contrasts. So there you can see I'm adding a little bit of an orangey contrast. So anything that you might have struggled with to start off with in your original painting, you can just amend. So this multimedia exercise can be a way of amending your painting or correcting your painting or adding various enhancements. What I really liked is to add the highlights, worked really well, and I really like the bluey shadows as well. So I did add a few blues in, and tried deliberately to make the lines look quite sketchy and not blended in because I liked that kind of look. But this is entirely up to you, so have a play. It's all about experimentation. This is just a learning exercise. So this daily oil challenge, it's just about practicing, playing, seeing what effects you can get. And we're not producing masterpieces each time, so just have fun with it. If you use the side of your pastel, then it kind of picks up some of the impasto nature of the oil paint that you applied with the palette knife. So it goes on in a rough kind of way, and it was really quite fun. And again, I'm just building up the contrast there between the lights and the darks. So you don't have to be true exactly to the photo. We're just trying to create an engaging picture and have fun and play around with our multimedia experiment. Thanks very much for watching this video and joining me on my oil challenge.
Any comments that you have would be greatly appreciated. And if you could like and subscribe, that would also be very much appreciated as I grow this channel. I'll see you at the next one.